and welcome to SCLC Today TV. We're coming to you this week from the national headquarters of SCLC on Auburn Avenue in Atlanta. Joining me, of course, is our president and CEO, Dr. Charles Steele Jr. Speaking of SCLC, today's Coretta Scott King's 94th birthday. She was the architect of the King legacy, was she not?
Absolutely. She played a major role, and many times people overlook that. A major role, Mr. Eden, in terms of her supporting and actually having a vision to enhance and motivate Dr. King on different issues that he took on and projects. I had the unique opportunity to work with Mrs. King in terms of organizing a family reunion. I treasure that, my wife and I. She was very good in terms of wanting to unify and keep the family together. Yeah. And she would come to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and Marion, and bring about that family reunion every 2 years. And for me to have that privilege and honor to work with her and to make sure and assure that that reunion was a success. I have a picture now that she awarded me with Dr. King when the title of the picture says, and she autographed it and made some comments to my continuing in the movement. But the title of the picture was, "Freedom is a very expensive thing. Freedom ain't free." And that was given to me from Mrs. Coretta Scott King. Her spirit is still here.
Yes.
And
right down the street, the King Center.
Right down the street.
She carved and created her own. Politically tough, though, to make that King Center come alive, was it not?
My Lord, my Lord. And, you know, regretfully so, SCLC could have done a better job in receiving Mrs. King after the assassination of Dr. King, you know, because to fight for freedom is a tough job. Yeah. And many times we have to go out our way to show love and more love on a daily basis and never give up on convincing people that we'll care and we want to bring you in. But she didn't fight anyone. She had a vision too.
That's right.
That showed that she was a true leader, and that's why we have the King Center.
Quite a lady. It also represents the toughness of many women who stand beside their husbands and their leaders, much like you have.
Well, I'm honored, and I like to say I'm so thankful to God that my wife and I both had a good relationship with Mrs. King, even with my coming to SCLC. I told you about the picture, but she also wrote me a letter. And it said, Maynard, that Martin would be so proud of what you have done in accepting the responsibility of leadership with the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. That came from Mrs. Coretta Scott King.
I tell you, covering her as a journalist here in Atlanta, doing many of her activities, it was a special presence about her, a special way she talked. It was a different tone, and you could tell she was a serious but regal kind of lady.
Well, first of all, in my studying leadership and being involved in a leadership role most of my life, through civil rights, politics, and then back to civil rights, a leader does not have to talk very loud. I do. A leader can be very quiet and modest. She walked in the room, eloquence. Yes. That's what she presented. I mean, she was the epitome of leadership, and she didn't have to open her mouth. People knew that she was the one.
Speaking of one, Pervis Payne, somebody you've been fighting for. You and the Innocence Project. Tell us about what's happening with him in Memphis, Tennessee.
Well, I just got off the phone with the DA's office in Memphis. Pervis Payne is a very serious, committed young man who's been on death row for 33 years. I had the opportunity to speak to him via telephone at a church rally in Memphis just a week ago. Attorney Charles Brooks accompanied me to Memphis, and we had a church rally there in Memphis. And working with the Innocent Project with Attorney Kelly Hendry and her staff, we were able to connect with Pervis over the telephone. And his father was there, his sister was there. And man, they even put in writing to me that they wanted SCLC to take on the leadership of this project. I have the letter that they sent me over the weekend from his sister and his father. His father, if I'm correct, is about 7 or 8 years of age. And he looked at me and he said, Mr. Steele, I'm standing before you in the church this morning, and I'm praying every day to God that he doesn't take me until Pervis is exonerated or free from this accusation that he murdered this young lady and her child. There was a boy and a girl, and one was stabbed to death, and one was stabbed but overcame that seriousness of that violence act of being stabbed, and they are living today.
So, sir, is this to halt his execution or to free him from his conviction?
Well, the legislature just 48 hours ago, both houses have passed the Intellectual Disability Act, which will automatically, with the signing of the governor, would automatically relinquish him from being executed. But it would not let him out of prison.
Gotcha.
I committed to his father and his sister and to the church and all of the people there at the rally that my commitment to this family and to Pervis is to see him get home no later than Thanksgiving of this year and at the maximum Christmas of this year, 2021. That's what SCLC and my leadership is committed to Mr. Pervis Payne, who has spent 33 years on death row for a crime that he's accused of that we know he did not commit. And let me close with Pervis Payne on this, Mr. Eden. The fact that the young lady that he's accused of killing actually got the DNA off of the person who killed her, and they stabbed her 80 some odd times.
Wow.
That was a passion.
Wow.
80 some odd times. And it wasn't Pervis in our research. Pervis could not have done it. But the DNA has been lost because she had the skin on her fingernails from the person that murdered her. And guess what the DA office is saying? They lost the evidence in terms of the pigmentation that she had under her fingernails from the person that so brutally murdered and killed her.
Dr. Steele, we talk about racism in America. We talk about corporate racism. But the prison system probably is the second worst than slavery has been, has it not? I mean,
absolutely.
You find more problems that you fight against
absolutely.
In the prisoners. Right?
Absolutely. And what we're looking at now with Attorney Brooks, I have to give credit, our general counsel, who brought to the Innocent Project that we need to look at more DA offices, district attorneys, in terms of their prosecutorial moral turpitude, which means that they are hiding evidence, which means that they are not honest in their approach in terms of these cases.
Railroading black men to prison.
Railroading the male black imagery of black males.
Wow, that's a tough job ahead of you.
Tough job, yes, sir.
Also, another tough job has been fighting for the Voting Rights Act. You have faith in civil rights leaders here in Atlanta who filed a lawsuit against the governor because of the new voting law in Georgia. But you're saying you forecast this assault on the Voting Rights Act years ago, did you not?
8 years ago. 8 years ago. June the 25th, 2013. There was at least 50 to 60 people, along with my good friend, State Senator Hank Sanders, former State Senator Hank Sanders, and his lovely wife, Attorney Fire Rose, Attorney Rose Sanders, who was there with us. Fire Rose and Senator Hank Sanders and DeMarc, my chief of staff, and many other persons, but no more than 50. 60 at the most. that was there at the U.S. Supreme Court when we knew that they were going to gut Section 4 and Section 5. That was June the 25th, 2013, Mr. Eaton. And I'm saying we must stop being, and I support the lawsuit, but we must stop being reactive.
Yes. We're reacting now as opposed to being
Proactive.
Right.
Absolutely. I rest my case.
Ladies and gentlemen, we rest our show. This has been SCLC Today TV from Atlanta with our president, Dr. Charles Steele Jr. Thank you.